Hi, this is Cathy for TransByDef, and I would like to start by wishing everyone out there a Happy New Year. I hope your new year is off to a good start as mine is. Today we are talking about cross-dressing. Did you cross-dress before you transitioned? And if you did, at what point did you realize that your dressing as the opposite sex was more than just cross-dressing? I first would like to start with three different terms which are associated with cross-dressing. I would like to talk a little bit about, first, what is cross-dressing. Second, I would like to talk a little bit about transvestite. And third, I would like to talk about drag queens. First, the definition of cross-dressing is that you dress in the clothes of the opposite sex and portray the opposite sex. It is interesting, if you go back into the Bible, you find examples of cross-dressing in the Bible, and the fact that that was not accepted there. The second term is transvestite. Transvestite was coined from two Latin terms and simply means cross-dressing. However, a lot of people felt that the term transvestite did not include everybody who was cross-dressing, and so sometime in the 70s the terminology evolved of cross-dressing. The third one is drag queen. And a drag queen, as I'm going to use it here today, is really a man who dresses up in exotic female clothes and puts on a show to entertain those people who are out in the audience, and certainly is not part of the topic that we're looking at today. To talk about my experience with cross-dressing, I go back to the late 60s or into the 60s when I was in junior high school. And the one thing that really sticks out in my mind about cross-dressing was I remember in either 8th or 9th grade, my mother took me up to a junior high dance. I was there for a very short period of time. I was not interested really too much in the boys that were there, nor was I interested in the girls. I decided I would much rather be at home dressed as a girl. I had a key to the house, and so I walked the 3 blocks home from the junior high building to my house, let myself in, and dressed as a girl, and sat and listened to some nice music, and had a very enjoyable evening. And shortly before my mother came home, I changed back into my boy clothes and made sure that all of my makeup was off my face. And as I was taking the makeup off my face, I can still remember thinking, I wish I could just remain a girl. I have questioned for a long period of time whether I was really cross-dressing or whether I was living as a male for most of my time, and when I possibly could, I dressed as what my real inner self represented. Now, my life as a girl has basically 3 parts to it. First, I asked my mother when I was about 8 or 9 why I couldn't become a girl, and she immediately took me to a psychologist. The same thing happened at about age 12 to 13, and she took me back to the same psychologist, and he said, well, I certainly can cure this young man of that problem. Well, each time I received counseling and was forced back into my male role. The bottom line, however, is that I continued to dress as a girl whenever I had the opportunity, whenever somebody that did not matter, when somebody that mattered was not around to bring up the point that I shouldn't do that. The last major division is when I was in college and for a brief time tried to transition and become a girl in college. And I was told by my employer, by the head of my department, and by my mother, that if I transitioned, they would cut me off, keep me out of the house, and I would be out of the department and without a job. And I could not do that. So I was forced to stay in the role from the time I was around 22, 23, up until my late 50s, when I felt that I had the financial resources to transition. In that period between age 23 and my failed early transition, I have always had a number of female outfits. I have always had breast forms. I have always had jewelry and rings. And the minute the people who are around me, who are important and control my life, disappear, I dress as a woman and enjoy it, and enjoyed living as a woman. There have been periods of time when I would go on a vacation by myself, where as soon as I got out of the city in which I live here in East Texas, I would change into women's clothes and live as a woman for the entire duration of the trip. I feel that what I was doing between the age of 23 and the age of 58 or 59 was I was being a woman whenever I possibly could and conforming to the society which was around me. I guess by many people that would be considered cross-dressing or be considered a transvestite. I look at it and say that was my response and is my response to dealing with not being able to be out of the closet and my honest self. And I lived that way for a long period of time, for about 40 years. And I was always very happy when I was dressed as a woman, and I was always very sad to see that period of time come to an end. I really think that you as the viewer will feel that that is cross-dressing. I, as a transsexual and being transgendered, feel that that was the only way that I could present myself and represent myself as the full inner me. I think that I have realized that I was a woman inside ever since I was about 8 or 9. And certainly when I was in high school and left that dance and came home and dressed as a woman, dressed as a girl, just like the girls were at the dance, I certainly was acting like a girl rather than acting like a transvestite or a cross-dresser. I have never ever dressed in exotic clothes and fit the role of a drag queen. I do not entertain people as a woman. I just enjoy being a woman. And I think it's very important to realize that there are a lot of people out there in the world that have to hide their real self, and so they have to be a woman when they can. Well, those are my comments. I was so happy when I could transition and become a woman full-time and live as a woman and had the resources to be a woman that I always wanted to be. Well, thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the box below. I will see you again next week. Bye.